Ciao musicoffili, oggi è una giornata davvero particolare perché siamo in compagnia dell'immenso Tommy Emmanuel.
Sì.
So, Tommy, it's a real pleasure to have you here.
Grazie.
And we're very happy to meet you.
You're welcome. Niente.
So, after many years of career, how do you find inspiration to write new songs and new music?
New songs is always hard. Trying to write something good is difficult. A songwriter must wait for inspiration. Something happens, but when the inspiration comes, you must be ready. You know, I don't pick up the guitar and try to write a song every day of my life.
Okay.
There's no point to do that because I could write something right now, you know, instantly, but maybe it's no good.
All right.
Maybe it doesn't last. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Yeah,
the
so
songs that
right
really
now.
last are the ones that really you work for, that you're writing with great purpose. But I mean, I still try to write as often as I can, but it's hard for me on the road because I'm always traveling. You know, it's the same with practice. People think I practice, you know, all day, every day, and how can I? What I tell people is that the truth is that I would love to practice every day, all day, but actually I travel most of the time.
So you don't have the time.
I don't always have the time.
Okay.
You know, today I have done many things already. I woke up very early, and I drove all the way to Rome from near Bologna.
Yeah.
That's a long drive.
Yeah.
And then I tried to sleep a little and then practice a little. Then I had to go to the city square to receive a award. And now I'm here. Now I must prepare for the concert.
Wow.
So many hours are spent traveling. But writing songs for me is a great joy and a great pleasure. And a part of my life that I love, you know.
Your last album is Little by Little.
Little by Little, yeah.
It was in 2010 you released it.
See, I have been recording different projects between now and then.
Yeah.
And this year, I will, I did a Christmas album last year.
Yeah.
And this year I will record an album with the great Martin Taylor.
Wow.
We are doing some duets this year, and in the end of this year, Dottie Battaglia and I will combine to record some songs. Yeah,
that's a great news.
Wow. So and I have been writing some new songs as well. So maybe next year I'll get a chance to record a new solo album.
Okay, so you got a lot of things going on right now.
I got a lot of pots in the cucina.
Just la cucina, sì.
Yeah.
Your gigs are more like a one-man show.
Well, they have to be. There's only one man.
There's only one man playing. Yeah.
See.
Why are you chosen to play alone and not with a band?
Not many people do it for a start, and it's very challenging.
Yeah.
Well, I just I have plenty of good songs that I believe in that I don't need to have a band to play with me. Last year I reformed my original band from Australia, and I brought them to Europe and to America, and it was a way to celebrate the music of my past, you know. But I don't really need to have a band. It works very well just on my own, you know. And I remember years ago when I only played with a band, and then in the middle of a show I would send the band off and play solo. And people always said to me, the best part of the show is when you played on your own. We love the band, but when you played on your own, it was beautiful. So I listen to what people say and what their feelings are, you know. Okay. Well, I'm playing places that are bigger than when I played with my band.
Yeah.
So it's very strange, but you know, well, I've been coming to Italy for many, many years, and I've been building the audience here. Yeah. And that's the way you know, for me, it's all about building a relationship with the people here in Italy, so I can come back and I can play again, you know. Yeah. A man needs a good job. And so, you know, I always tell students, I say, what do you want to hear people say at the end of your concert, you know? Not that you did a great job, whatever. You want to hear them say, when are you coming back? Okay. That's what you want to hear, because you want to have a job.
Right. You have a lot of fans here in Italy.
Well, I love Italy and I love coming here. And I don't come here too often because I don't want to wear out my welcome, okay. You know.
I think you will always be welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me, I was reading an article a few days ago where it was written that sales records are gaining up since 2004 for the first time in 2011. And what do you think about piracy? And you know, it's a difficult thing to understand and to find a solution.
Piracy is everywhere,
yeah,
and there's nothing much you can do about it. How can we do anything about it? I mean, in the first place, a lot of people complained about YouTube, you know, and the fact that our music is up there, our images are up there, and we get no money from it. But that's not necessarily true, because the more people know about you, the more people will come to your concert. Yeah. So you may not get anything from the internet, but you get something because more people know about it.
Right.
And I think that's fair enough.
it's important for people to understand that it's right to pay for music, probably.
Well, I think so. I mean, I have never gone to somebody's concert and expected a free ticket. I always want to pay because I want to support the artist. You know, even when my brother played in Sydney,
yeah,
I came to the show and they said at the door, "Oh no, come on in," you know. And I said, "No, I'm buying a ticket like everybody else. He's my brother. I want to support him."
That's fair, yeah.
And but you know, a lot of people are looking for everything for free, and unfortunately, life is not like that. Life is not about a free lunch.
Yeah.
You know, life is we all work together, and we do our bit. I work very hard on the stage, and so people can expect that I will give them everything.
Yeah.
But you're not getting it for $5. You're going to pay a good price, and you're going to get a good show. Simple as that.
That's fair.
You know, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
So we were talking about YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a good relationship with the internet? I seen on your website you launched the Tommy TV. Recently.
Tommy TV?
Yeah.
CZ, yeah. Well, that's a site that is run by an organization in America called TrueFire. And they do that site for me. They do Larry Carlton stuff. They do, well, hundreds of guitar players and Frank Vignola and it's like, it's similar idea to like an online academy kind of thing. But we also shoot film on the road. My girlfriend, Clara,
yeah,
she's a cinematographer and an editor as well.
Wow.
And so she's shooting film all the time and editing little movies, and we call them the Endless Road episodes. So people can always tune in and see what we're doing on the road. I think it's a really great way to expand myself out into the world and to bring people into my world and what happens in my daily life, if people are interested.
Yeah, of course.
So, but of course, along the way, the Tommy TV has instruction, and then a lot of the instruction that I shot, we are now putting out on DVDs, and these are DVDs that will work in a computer, that will work on a DVD player, and they're split screen.
Okay.
And you can slow the right hand down and slow the left hand down. You can have 5 different camera angles at the same time if you want. It's great technology, and that's why I like it. You know, it was Larry Carlton who told me about it many years ago, and he said you should talk to these people, and he was right. They're really wonderful people. You know, Larry is an extraordinary teacher who is not only a man of great experience and knowledge, but he's articulate and he can tell you exactly what he's doing. Whereas half the time I'm playing something and I go, oh, if I examine it, I didn't realize I was doing that. You know, and that's the difference between him and I. He's very schooled, and I'm very just play in the moment, you know.
Okay.
Some people say a man is made out of mud, a poor man's made out of muscle and blood. Muscle and blood and skin and bone. Set a mind that's weak, and a back that's strong. You load 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store.
And when it comes to recording, do you like the new technologies and the new, Pro Logic and Pro Tools?
I love it, absolutely. I still record the same way as I always have. The difference is that if there's a little noise, we can get rid of it. You know. But a lot of times, if you listen carefully to my albums, you'll feel like I'm sitting right in front of you playing. You can hear this sound because I mic it up. I mic the neck up, I mic the body up, I mic the room up here.
Yeah.
So, what I've learned from my producer, engineer Kim Person, is the use of reverb being very very sparse. But the way we do it is, so we put the microphones here, one up here, two here, and then we take a line out of the guitar and use the pickup, right? And then we come out of the DI and we go into my AER amplifier, but the amplifier is in another room, so it's isolated.
Right.
We then take the signal from the amp and we mic the amp as well. So we end up with about 10 channels for one guitar, okay? And this is good because you don't have to go EQ. I don't like EQ. Okay. I want to get the sound naturally. So if I want more bass, I just turn the mic that's pointing at the hole, bring that up a little bit, you know, and see if the amp needs a little whatever. But then when Kim Person mixes my solo albums, what she does is she leaves the microphones dry. No effect, no EQ, just dry microphone. And then what we do is we put a little reverb on the amplifier signal and set it in behind. So you have the front of the acoustic guitar right there, and then you have this kind of what we call a tail at the back, and it's reverb coming from the amp.
Wow.
And that's how I get the quality of acoustic sound and then the depth of dimension. So if you put headphones on, you can almost see it.
Yeah,
you know?
That's right.
It's nice.
Really nice and really natural sounding.
It is, yeah. And, you know, I mean, Endless Road took 2-3 hour days.
Wow.
2-3 hour afternoons I finished the album. Only was finished the same, 2-3 hour calls. Everything was one take.
Amazing.
Well, I wrote the songs, I played them on the road, I'm ready. And do you know what? A lot of people find that the studio is a big struggle for them because you are so exposed, right? But I love that. And I love wearing headphones and getting a good sound and working my guitar with the microphones. I move around until I found a sound I like. And for me, I actually play better in the studio than I do live, you know. So I could play studio every day and be very happy, you know.
About your playing, we see a lot of guitar players that think that the best thing is to play much more notes they can.
Maybe they have a lot to say.
Yeah, and they forget about rhythm and groove.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah. You can tell from seeing you playing live, groove and feeling is the most important thing. We are the most important. Music
is all about feeling, how it makes you feel, and how the music feels itself. And I always work on my time. You know, I was doing a workshop the other night and a guy said, do you not think about time anymore? Does it just come natural to you? And I say, well, it does come natural to me, but I still work on it. I still work with a metronome just to know that feeling of this is what it's like to play absolutely in time. And when there is absolute time, it's a great feeling. At the same time, I enjoy working with somebody, like I just did a tour with Vlatko Stefanovski and Stokolo Rosenberg, and we are called the Kings of Strings. And Vlatko likes sometimes things to go one tempo and then move to another, the same as my brother does. We play here, and then he needs it to go a little faster. And I'm happy to do that as well. It doesn't bother me. I'm not going to say, no, I'm not moving, you know. But when I'm playing my own music, I'm pretty insistent that the time is there and that the groove stays, you know. And when I'm playing, like when I'm improvising in a song like Guitar Boogie, for instance, you'll notice So no matter what I played, I'm feeling that same groove when I'm playing. And when I practice with a metronome, I do all that stuff. I improvise and go off and get the feeling of the freedom of that, but still keeping the groove there. You know.
So that's the most important thing every time.
Well, I think so. It's something that everybody needs to work on.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's been a real pleasure to meet you. So if you want to play a song, to go out with.
See. Here we go. Grazie.
Thank you.
Ciao.